Hello, you're welcome. We're going to be solving the numerical example of price discrimination. So let's say you have a monopolist who operates with two demand function, that is charges prices, two prices in two different markets, and but with the same cost function. So you're going to have something that looks like this, where the Q1 represent the first market and the Q2 represent the second market, with the TC being the cost function. And you're required to calculate the profit maximizing price charged by the monopolies in each market. And also you are required to calculate the units sold in each market to maximize the profit. Also, you have to calculate the maximum profit. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to go straight trying to solve this. So let's say you are given this. What you do is to ensure that you make these P's, P1 and P2, the subject of the formula. So you inverse the demand function to be in terms of price. So what you do is to simply move this here and then move this here. So this will sort of like make it easy for you. So when this moves, you have 0.25 P1 equal to 48 minus, when Q moves, it becomes this minus Q1. Then you do the same thing for this, and then you do the same thing for this. You have 0.04 P2 equal to 15 minus Q2. So you keep whatever you do to the left hand side, you try to do it to the right hand side. So let's just put them on two different sides. So here you can now divide through. By the coefficient of P, both P1 and P2. So what you have here is P1 equal to 48 divided by 0.25. 48 divided by 0.25 equal minus Q1 divided by 0.25. Then the same thing happens here. P2 equal to 15 divided by 0.04 minus Q2 all over 0.04. So this is what you have. Then this will give you P1 equal to 192 minus 4 Q1, while this will give you P2 equal to 375 minus 25 Q2. So the plan is to have the demand function expressed in terms of P. And that is what you have done. Okay, now that we have expressed the demand function in terms of P, we can proceed to determine the total revenue function. The total revenue function, which is TR, equals to P multiplied by Q. So in this case, for the first market, you have TR1. TR1 is equals to P1 multiplied by Q1. For the second market, you have TR2 is equal to P2 multiplied by Q2. So it makes it easy. Now you multiply the function P1. The function P1 was 192 minus 4 Q1 multiplied by Q1. Then for this, you have 375 minus 25 Q2 all multiplied by Q2. So with this, you can proceed to obtain your TR1 as 192 Q1 minus 4 Q1 raised to power 2. Here you can have your TR2 as 375 Q2 minus 25 Q2 squared. What happened? You multiply 2 by the Q's. The Q1 multiply Q1 multiply 192, Q2 multiply 25, Q2 multiply 375. You can name these various equations if you like. Yeah, but for space, because we want to manage the space here, so we may not. Then what next? Having gotten your total revenue, you proceed to calculate or obtain your marginal revenue. You obtain your marginal revenue. The first market will be given as the differential value of the total revenue function 1 with respect to Q1. Here for MR2, you differentiate the total revenue function 2 with respect to Q2. So what you have here now is MR2, sorry, MR1. MR1 equal to, when you differentiate 192Q, you have 192. When you differentiate 4Q1 raised to power 2, you have 8Q1. That is by multiplying the power by the coefficient and then minusing 1, subtracting 1 from the power. So giving you this. Then you do the same thing here. MR2, you differentiate again, you are left with 375 minus 50 minus 50 Q2. This is what you have. So you can. Now, why did we go through all this trouble? It is for us to determine the point of equilibrium. Now, the firm makes profit at the point of equilibrium, and this point has been theoretically and graphically established as a point where marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. Marginal cost equal to marginal revenue. So for each of the markets, this marginal cost equal to marginal revenue, or marginal revenue equal to marginal cost, as the case may be. So now we've succeeded in having the marginal revenue. So what about our marginal cost? You will recall that the cost function was given as 60 plus 15 Q1 or 15 Q2. 15 Q1, you can just say 15Q, but here the Q will be Q1 plus Q2. So you proceed to obtaining the MC1. So for the first market, MC1, you have to differentiate the total cost function with respect to Q1. So what will you get? You'll be having MC1 equal to, you differentiate 60, it becomes 0. Then you differentiate 15Q1, you'll be left with 15. When you do the same thing here, that is what you are going to get. You have the TC2 with respect to Q2. So your MC, now this time around you differentiate with respect to Q2, but it is still 15. So this is what you get. So now you can now equate either of the equation. You can now equate for each of the markets, equate the marginal revenue to the marginal cost. So for the first market, the marginal revenue is MR1, that is MR1, that is 192 minus 8Q1 equal to 15. But for here, you have 375 minus 50 Q2 equal to 15. Our focus is to calculate the value of Q so that it can enable us to obtain the value of P. So this is what we do. We sort of like move this and move this. So what do you have? 192 minus 15 equal to 8Q1. What about here? 375 minus 15 equal to 50 Q2 equal to 50 Q2. So this is it. Then to be simple, when you subtract 15 from 192, what are you left with? You are left with 177 equal to 8 Q1. And here you are left with what? 360 equal to 50 Q2. So you divide the coefficients. What you have here now, Q1 will be equal to 177 divided by 8, which will give you 22.1 or 125. You can use all since they are not much. Then here, what do you get? Q2 equal to 360 divided by 50. So this will give you 7.2. So with this, you've been able to calculate the quantity. You've been able to calculate the quantity that will be sold, the units that will be sold. But at what price? The unit that will be sold at what price? So you have to now substitute the value of Q for in the equation, in the price function. So you have P1 equal to 192 minus 4 Q1, where Q1 is this, so it's 22.125. So you have this 4 into 22.125. So at the end, your P1 is equal to $103.5. Then you do the same thing for the second market. Your P2 is equal to 375 minus 25 Q2, where your Q2 is giving us 7.2. So you have 25 multiplied by 7.2, close bracket. So with this, P2 is equal to 195 dollars. So now this represents the price charged in the first market. $103.5 is the price charge in the first market, and $195 is the price charge for the second market. At what quantity? 22.125 units were sold in the first market, and 7.2 units are sold in the second market. So you have invariably answered the first and second questions respectively. So the third question is to determine the maximum profit. So determine the maximum profit. Let's see, how do we approach this? Profit is giving us let's represent as a pi, and it is the difference between the total revenue and the total cost. Now when you look at it like this, you can decide to calculate the profit for each market. And then sum them up. It's very simple like that. And then you sum them up, or you can use the entire model like that, and substitution and everything will come out. So, but then let's calculate for the first market. The first market will be pi 1 tr1 minus tc. They are the same, whichever one you use. tc1, let's use tc1. Then for the second market, you have second profit that is equal to tr2 minus tc2. So this is what you do. So for the first market, tr is price multiplied by quantity. So you have $103.5 multiplied by the quantity to 22.125, all in bracket, minus or subtract the total cost from it, which is 60 plus 15 multiplied by 22.125. So this can be kind of in between, so that you will not be confused. So you do your multiplication first, then you extract the numbers out and you add them up. So you tend to have this. When you multiply this $103 multiplied by 2.5, you have 2,289.94. Then you take away 391. That is when you clear 60 plus 15 times 22.125. 91.875. Now, that is it for the first market. What will it give you? The profit in the first market will be 1,000. Your profit in the first market will be $1,898.065. Now, what about the second market? You have total revenue as what? Price, which is 195, multiplied by quantity, which is 7.2, all in bracket, minus the total cost for the second market, which is 60 plus, okay, you can do this, then you have a smaller bracket in there, plus 15 multiplied by 7.2. Close the smaller bracket and you close the big bracket. So by the time you use your board mass, do the 15 operation in the brackets, you have for 1,404 from the first bracket, that is 195 multiplied by 7.2, then minus 168. So your profit in the second market is 1,236. You can now calculate the overall profit, as we said, which will now give you the overall profit to be profit 1 plus what? Profit from the second market. So when you do all of that, this will be 1,898.065 plus 1,236 profit, therefore equal to, that's the total profit, equal to, don't forget your sign, 3,134.065 dollars. Okay, now, or the major thrust of price discrimination is to be able to maximize profit. Now, when you look at the first market, the price charged in the first market was 103, which means the price is lower than the second market, which is 195. But looking at the normal law of demand and supply coming to play, you discover that the market with the lower price has higher units sold, while the market with the higher price has lower units sold, where you see 22.125 units sold for the first market, where just 103 naira, $3 was charged. But for the second market, 7.2 units were sold. Meanwhile, at $195. So now going down to the profit in the first market is large, but that is because 22.125 units were sold. The profit for the second market is not that large, even though 7.2 units were sold. So when you look at it critically, supposing 22 units were sold in the second market, so you can imagine what the profit will be like. That is why monopolists use this strategy to maximize profit. There will be a second version, or a part 2 of this video, where you will learn how the profit will be like if the monopolist did not discriminate. Please like, share, and drop your comment. And expect the part 2, where the monopolist did not discriminate.